The first plate missed my head by less than an inch. It spun in slow, impossible silence before shattering against the mud brick wall, spraying okra stew and white shards over my 3 children. My 8-year-old Ben clutched his little brother's Teddy. 6-year-old Zoe dragged 4-year-old Max behind the sofa. The kerosene lantern wobbled on the table, casting jagged shadows that trembled like trapped birds. Across the room, Victor, reeking of palm gin and perfume that wasn't mine, swayed in the doorway, tie half undone, rage bright as neon in his eyes. Victor? Cold stew, Stefania? Am I a stray dog? He hurled the second plate. I flinched. The edge nicked my cheek, a thin red line glistening in the lantern light. I tasted iron, swallowed my scream, and pulled my wrapper tighter as Victor stumbled toward the bedroom, already speed dialing someone named Sweetie, and laughing before the door slammed. Outside, Harmattan dust swirled across the Ibadan night. Inside, my children cowered, counting Victor's footsteps until his snores replaced the threat. By sunrise, Victor was every mechanic's best friend, slapping backs at the junction, paying for pepper soup, and spinning jokes loud enough to trend if laughter were Wi-Fi. His Instagram grid glowed with selfies. #HustleKing, family first. All likes, no truth. University girls half his age clung to his Lexus door. He called them interns, though none could spell resume. When the sun set, Prince Charming clocked out and the ogre punched in. Unpaid school fees piled like unwashed pots. I patched the leaking roof with cardboard, praying the kids wouldn't notice the power cut. Again, a spilled cup of gari earned Zoe a slap that rattled her baby teeth. My quiet protest brought a belt across my back. Victor's rule was simple. His mistakes were jokes, our mistakes were sins. He wore a charm like a party mask, but at home the mask dropped, and everyone bled. Victor's control spread in invisible threads. First, he banned evening chats with neighbors. "Gossip destroys homes," he said while DMing Sweetie heart emojis. Next, he confiscated my old Samsung, claiming data was too expensive for housewives. My universe folded smaller each day. 4 walls, 3 frightened children, 1 man's temper. And somewhere beyond those walls, Victor's public smile collected likes, laughs, and lovers, while we learned to breathe in whispers. Rain woke me first. Thin drops tapped softly through the roof's small holes, landing on cracked linoleum. Quietly, I placed a bucket under the drip, careful not to wake Victor. A loose floorboard shifted beneath my weight, revealing a forgotten metal biscuit tin. My heart quickened as I opened it and found Victor's battered old transistor radio. Years ago, he'd discarded it for newer toys. I found batteries hidden behind the kerosene lamp, inserted them, and turned the dial cautiously. Static hissed. Then a female voice emerged, calm and firm. "You're listening to Women Hold Up Half the Sky, supporting Nigerian women against domestic fear. Remember, no man can legally harm his wife. Free legal clinics and shelters are available. Call 034. My fingers shook as I scribbled the number onto my wrapper with charcoal dust. I listened intently as callers described escapes and new beginnings. For the first time, I saw possibilities beyond Victor's control. At 2 a.m., I hid the radio safely again. Beside my sleeping children, I whispered "speak," feeling hope crack open inside me. Morning arrived harshly with Victor slamming doors, nursing a hangover. I tied a scarf higher, covering the bruise on my cheek. I cooked quietly, ignoring Victor's demands. He stormed off in his Lexus, leaving me breathing easier. That afternoon, I began my quiet rebellion, Operation Savings. Taking small, unnoticed amounts of Victor's imported rice, I planned discreet sales at Mama Agnes's stall. Ben watched cautiously as I scooped rice into a small nylon bag. "This is a maths lesson," I reassured him. "We'll hide coins in the old broom. No word to Papa." Ben hesitated, fear shadowing his face, but numbers comforted him. He nodded. At Mama Agnes's, I traded rice discreetly. Agnes counted 80 into Ben's hand, adding a sweet for Zoe. Back home, we carefully rolled the money into the broom's hollow handle. Days turned to routine. Quietly, I sold extra rice, palm oil, or Gary. Ben learned addition rapidly. 4 notes became 5, then 7. Each day, our secret savings grew, hidden safely in broom handles. Within 2 weeks, we'd collected Sir 1,000, enough for bus tickets to Badija and freedom. Each night, I tuned the radio, drawing courage from the voices of women who'd escaped before me. Fear remained, but hope stood stronger, quietly waiting. One Friday, Victor surprised us with a midday return. He tossed a half-empty gin bottle on the sofa and demanded pepper soup. My heart jolted. The rice bag still showed fresh scoop marks. He sniffed the pepper soup, finished the gin, and left without noticing. After that scare, I diversified. Each coin or note found hiding spots. Inside empty Milo tins sealed with candle wax, behind the cracked portrait of our wedding day, under Zoe's puzzle mat. Ben's role deepened. He mapped Victor's schedule: gin days, beer days, Lagos nights. He noted times Victor returned drunk enough to forget counting cigarettes. I used this data to plan high-risk moves. Yet danger never slept. Victor's drinking swelled from weekend habit to daily tidal wave. Paydays vanished into bookmaker slips and schoolgirl gifts. Light bills tripled. Water stopped flowing. I sold my old head tie for $150, patched the borehole pipe with scrap rubber to avoid calling a plumber. I counted our secret cash, just over $11,000 after 6 weeks. The Bodija Shelter Hotline estimated $4,500 for one adult and 3 kids to travel at night, plus $1,000 intake fee. That left $5,500, enough for food a few days, maybe transport to court later. It felt both thrilling and terrifyingly thin. I tuned the radio nightly. Auntie Mary advised, keep a go bag ready, copy documents, photograph injuries if safe, store copies outside the house. I wished for a camera. Then I remembered. Victor's phone often left charging while he showered. One Tuesday afternoon, Victor slept off. I fetched his phone, opened the camera, snapped fresh bruises on my arm, the kids' fearful faces, the broken bathroom door from Victor's last rage. I emailed images to a new account Ben created. The same night, Victor awoke early, missing his phone. I barely plugged it back beside him before he opened his eyes. But he sensed something. He sniffed like a hunting dog, asking why the phone felt warm. I shrugged, served noodles, and prayed hard. Victor stared at me during dinner, lips thin. At 2 a.m., he shook me awake, demanded his second SIM card. I had no idea about a second SIM. He slapped me twice before finding it under his own pillow. He laughed and cursed gin, then passed out. My cheek throbbed, but relief flooded me. Would he check the sent items? No, he'd hardly read a full text. Still, I deleted every photo and email record, counting heartbeats. Days crawled. Victor's violence rose and fell like August humidity. One Thursday, he raged about missing gin, slapped me across the ear. Zoe hid in the cupboard. Ben stood in front of Max, trembling but tall. My ear rang for hours. I stitched the memory into my resolve like a thread. 8 days, then 7, then 6. On the 6th night, the radio host changed. Auntie Mary was away. I panicked until the substitute repeated the hotline number. I mouthed it thrice. Ben wrote it inside his math book. 4, 3, 2. Our total hit $23,700. Not the goal, but bus prices were already climbing. Scarcity trucks queued across roads, rumors of strike spread. I moved departure to Victor's trip eve, not return. Operation Escape began. My first secret visit to Adironke's typing kiosk happened on a Saturday, splashed with puddles. Victor had gone off to source spare parts, which meant a full day in beer hall orbit. Rain gave good cover. Women with baskets and children with jerry cans packed the shelter of the old Bodija bus shed, so no one paid much attention when I slipped away with Zoe in tow. Adironke, Mama Agnes's younger sister, worked in a wooden cubicle no bigger than a wardrobe. 2 wheezing desktop computers hummed beside a copier that smelled of hot plastic, and a dusty curtain acted as a door. The sign outside promised CV design, DOIC forms, photostat 10 naira. I poked my head in. Good morning, Ma. Mama Agnes sent it to me. Ah, you're the Rice sister. Come in, quick. Inside, the air felt stale but private. I placed a nylon bundle on the desk. My marriage certificate, the children's birth slips, and Victor's crumpled electricity bill, proof of address. I hesitated, then slid out my secret weapon, Victor's phone, unlocked while he showered, displaying time-stamped images of bruises on my arms, Ben's laundry rough hands, Zoe's swollen lip. Adironke's smile faded. She clicked through photos, jaw clenching. Adironke, you want soft copies and prints? Me? Yes. And can they vanish from this phone after? Adironke nodded, plugged in a USB cable, and began a silent transfer. While the progress bar crawled, she reached under the desk and produced a cheap digital camera. Remove your scarf. My fingers trembled as I unwound the fabric, hiding a fresh purple welt on my temple. Flash popped. 1, 2, 3 angles. Adironke turned the camera to Ben. Adironki, young man, show your hands. Ben obeyed. Click. Zoe's lip. Click. Max slept on my back. The camera captured his small bruised arm where Victor had gripped too hard last week. Adironki typed furiously, client, Stefania Adeleke. Evidence set number 001, domestic violence. She printed 2 color sets and 8 black and white copies for filing. Everything slid into a brown manila envelope. Next, she scanned each page and saved to Google Drive under an anonymous email, Yellow Umbrella 358. Adironksoft. Password phrase, moon can't hide all night. Memorize. I repeated the phrase until it etched itself behind my eyes. The older desktop whirred again as Adironki laminated 2 ID-sized photos of me, then laminated photocopies of each child's birth slip. The plastic smelled like hot wax, but promised durability. All originals went back into a nylon. 2 laminated cards fit inside my bra. Cost? Naira, we'll talk later. Your freedom first. She slipped 200 change from a pretend transaction into my palm, bus fare home, then tucked the envelope into a secondhand cornflakes box. Hide it somewhere high. Termites love paper. Outside, the rain had stopped. I felt new weight in my bag. Paper armor, thin as cardboard, yet stronger than Victor's fists. That evening, Victor staggered in early, surprising us. My bag lay open on the kitchen stool. The cornflakes box peeked out. My stomach lurched. I spun, blocking his view with my body, asking if he wanted soup. Victor scratched his chin, eyeing the box. Victor, disinterested, I need beer first. He disappeared, leaving wet footprints. I shoved the box into an empty jerry can under the sink. Heart hammering. After dishes, I logged into Yellow Umbrella 358 on Ben's Math Club browser, double-checked every scan, then logged out. Even if Victor burned the house, the files floated safe above him, invisible. The tension finally snapped on a humid Sunday, the Champions League final between Liverpool and Real Madrid. Victor worshipped European football the way some men worshipped gods, and he'd bet half his month's spare part profits on Liverpool scoring first. He watched kickoff at a neighbor's TV shack, screaming through clouded bottles of Hero Lager. I kept the children inside, the door bolted. I stewed plantain porridge and rehearsed numbers, bus tickets, hotline digits. Ben updated our escape ledger. Total savings $26,200. Enough. At 10:15 p.m., a thunder of male voices rolled down the lane. Madrid had scored. Victor lost. Plastic chairs crashed. Curses flew. Minutes later, his Lexus fishtailed into the compound, headlights skewed. He kicked the gate so hard the latch snapped, storming into the house like a black-clad hurricane. Victor, where is the remote? Max had changed the channel to cartoons hours ago. The TV still showed animated cats. Victor, I missed the equalizer because of you pests. He yanked the set off the table. Wires sparked. Ben shielded Max. Zoe squealed. I stepped between them and Victor, palms raised. Me, leave them. It's only a game. His glare slid to my scarf. In one motion, he ripped it off, exposing the fading bruise Adironka's camera had captured. Victor, you dare hide marks like I'm the problem? He slapped my left cheek hard, one ringing crack. I stumbled but didn't fall. The children screamed. He raised his fist again. Something inside me, weeks of silent counting, radio whispers, savings stashed in broom handles, laminated proof in cereal boxes, flared bright. I stepped forward instead of back, voice low but iron. Me. Hit me again and your hands will answer in court. Victor froze, eyes narrowing. What? I pointed at Ben. He's a witness. At Zoe. She's a witness. I tapped my own chest. I'm a witness. Cameras don't sleep. Victor's mouth opened. Liquor fumes leaked out, but no words. He wasn't used to seeing fear mirrored back into his own eyes. He swung anyway. Wild, unbalanced. I intercepted, forearm absorbing the blow meant for Max. A flash of pain. On reflex, I shoved Victor's chest. He staggered, his back heel catching a puddle from the leaky roof. He crashed onto the broken TV. Plastic cracking, screen spiderwebbing. Silence, then his groan of rage and humiliation. Ben pulled Max into the corridor. Zoe reached for my hand, trembling. Victor pushed up, shards falling from his shirt. You think you're brave now? Wait, I make one call. He staggered to find his phone, but it lay dead, battery gone from earlier photo thefts. He slammed his fist on the table, stumbled outside, slamming the broken gate again and again like a gong. I gathered the children in the bedroom. My arm throbbed, but clarity burned in my skull. This was it. One more sunrise here, and someone would die. Victor passed out on the veranda after midnight, bottle in one hand like a rattle. I listened to his snores through the door. Every breath he took felt like borrowed time before the next storm. I examined my forearm, already swelling. I pressed a cold cloth, teeth clenched. Ben whispered, "Mum, are we going soon?" I met his steady eyes. "Yes, very soon," I said. At 2 a.m., while Victor coughed and muttered outside, I opened Zoe's backpack, slipped in the cornflakes box of documents. I folded 2 sets of clothes per child, all the money, the radio, and a pouch of dried Gary crumbs. The bag bulged but fit. I fetched the children's shoes, hid them under their pillows for quick reach. I retightened hair ties, knowing mornings could be hectic. Finally, I rewound the transistor dial until it caught Auntie Mary's repeat broadcast. "Leave a violent house physically before you leave it legally," Mary said, voice grave. "The law can be slow. Bruises heal slower." My eyes brimmed. Tomorrow night, Victor would drive to Lagos for another business weekend. I'd overheard his brag to friends before the match. This time, he'd leave whether Liverpool won or lost. And this time, so would I. I switched off the radio. The kerosene lamp's flame fluttered as if applauding my decision. I kissed each child's forehead. "Soon," I promised again, tasting the word like new bread. Outside, dawn's first light bled pale over Ibadan rooftops. Victor snored into an empty bottle. My bruise purpled, but my spine felt taller than ever. The clock inside me, wound tight by fear, counting coins, memorizing laws, clicked to its final turn. The next chapter lay one night away. Friday arrived like a slow drumbeat. Victor spent the morning polishing his Lexus, whistling Sweetie into speakerphone as he packed overnight shirts and a silver flask of gin. I said little, braid tucked under a scarf, bruised arm hidden inside a long sleeve. I fried plantains, nodded at every request, and slipped 2 extra pain tablets into his toiletry bag, sleep insurance for the road. By noon, Lagos friends began buzzing Victor's phone. "Where you day, man?" He answered with showy laughter, promising to hit Victoria Island clubs before midnight. The children watched from the doorway, eyes wide. At 4 p.m., a taxi horn announced Victor's driver. He strutted to the gate, suit jacket swinging. Victor, calling back. "Stefania, keep my house clean. I come back Monday with good news." I managed a small wave. The Lexus coughed, reversed, and disappeared in dust. I gripped the hot gatepost until the car's final glint turned the corner. Inside the house, silence rang louder than a church bell. No snoring, no curse, no gin bottle clink. I inhaled deep, first full breath in years, then set the timetable in motion. Ben carried the bag. Zoe kept Max's tiny hand. I slung a spare satchel across my chest, holding the laminated IDs and phone charger. Radio host Auntie Mary once said, "Depart at an hour when noise is your ally." Friday nights in Ibadan were loud. Football shouts, mosque calls, generator roar. I needed that cover. I had borrowed Mama Agnes's battered MP3 speaker earlier that week. At 6 p.m., I placed it in the backyard, volume high, playing Fuji music on loop. From the street, it sounded like Victor's usual weekend pregame. We ate small bowls of porridge. I checked every hiding spot twice. Broom hollows empty, Milo tin empty, floorboard hollow bare. I left the cornflakes box shell on a shelf to fool a quick search. Then I scribbled a simple line on an exercise book page. "We forgive, but we will not die here." I tucked it under the mattress Victor slept on. Ben doused the kerosene lamp, but left one wick burning low near the back door so curious neighbors wouldn't suspect vacancy too soon. The evening call to prayer faded. I wrapped Max on my back, whispered a Yoruba blessing, and cracked the rear kitchen door, an opening Victor always ignored because it stuck. Tonight, Ben eased the warped wood outward. Zoe scooted through like a whisper. I followed, easing the door back so the latch caught softly. Dust mottled the moon. Our sandals scraped red earth as we hurried through narrow alleys lined with corrugated roofs. 2 guard dogs barked. Ben tossed leftover bones their way. The animals sniffed and quieted. At Mapo Junction, Danfo buses honked, hawkers sold suya, teenagers laughed in clusters. I blended with the market pulse, children glued to my sides. Badija Shelter Night Coach read a hand-painted sign. The conductor, a lanky man with tribal marks, eyed my backpack, then my bruised face. "Conductor, 4 seats?" "Yes, sir. 2 young, 1 small lap." Fare had spiked to $1,500 per adult. My stomach dipped. Extra $500 unforeseen. I counted notes. Short by $300. Voice catching, I whispered, Please, brother. Before I finished, Ben pressed his matchbox into my palm. Inside, 3 100 coins he'd earned carrying water buckets last week and hidden for backup. Math says exact. I blinked back tears, paid. Tickets torn, we boarded. Zoe claimed a window. Ben hugged the backpack. Max curled against my chest. As the engine rumbled, I noted the time, 10:18 p.m., and mouthed a silent thank you to Auntie Mary, Mama Agnes, Adironke, and every unseen ally. Back in our street, music from the MP3 speaker looped on. A neighborhood boy hopped the fence to borrow Victor's ball pump. He noticed the main gate padlocked, assuming the family slept. He did not see the fake latch trick. He did not hear the bus wheels rolling past the city boundary. 4 weeks later, Upper Magistrate Court 3, Ibadan buzzed hotter than a beehive in July. Ceiling fans whirred futilely. Reporters clustered near the entrance. Domestic violence cases were rising. Ours carried social media spice. Local Instagram HustleKing exposed as an alleged wife-beater. I stood behind a pine partition the court provided for vulnerable witnesses. I wore a plain navy dress donated by the shelter, hair braided back, eyes level with the magistrate's desk. Ben sat behind me, drawings folded in his lap, crayon pictures of a house splitting open to let 4 stick figures walk into the sun. Zoe held Max's hand 2 seats away under a social worker's care. Across the aisle, Victor swayed slightly. The journey from charm to alarm showed in his unshaven jaw, dark eye bags, and the stale aroma of cheap gin rising like heat. His lawyer, a cousin from Osun with little trial experience, fanned himself with a motion brief. Legal aid attorney Chidinma Okoro adjusted rimless glasses, checking her file. Tab 1, certified marriage certificate copy. Tab 2, birth certificates. Tab 3, photographs of injuries with timestamps. Tab 4, hospital reports, Dr. Hassan, Bodija Clinic. Tab 5, audio file, Auntie Mary's program excerpt, Foundation for Notification of Resources. Tab 6, Ben Adeleke's withdrawn from school letter. Tab 7, victim statement, sworn. Opening statements. Chidinma spoke first, voice clear as rainfall. Your worship, this is a petition for dissolution of marriage under Section 38. Grounds: repeated acts of physical abuse, emotional cruelty, abandonment of financial responsibilities, and exposure of minors to harm. We seek full custody of the children and a restraining order. Victor's lawyer half rose, mopping sweat. Your worship, these are exaggerated domestic disagreements. My client loves his family. A cough interrupted. The magistrate, a stern woman in her 50s named Justice B.C. Ogundele. She motioned to proceed with evidence. Monday morning arrived beneath a sky the color of old parchment. The courtroom filled again, less crowded now that the first shock had cooled, but the benches still hummed with curiosity. Justice Ogundele took her seat, shuffled a short stack of pages, and spoke without prelude. This court dissolves the union of Stefania and Victor Adeleke, grants sole custody of Benjamin, Zoe, and Max Adeleke to their mother, and imposes a standing restraining order of 100 meters against the respondent. Child support arrears are entered at Sue $2.3 million, payable through garnishment of future wages. The court is adjourned. Her gavel's sharp crack seemed to slice 2 lives clean apart. Victor's shoulders drooped, but pride shoved him upright. He stalked outside, only to collide with the outer world he once ruled. 3 creditors waited on the courthouse steps, spare parts suppliers he had promised to pay after his big Lagos deal. A reporter thrust a phone camera in his face. Behind her glowed a phone screen showing Victor's own Instagram grid. Smiling selfies, family first hashtags, now overlaid by comments that scrolled like acid rain. So you beat your queen? Fake hustler. Protect Stefania. Victor swung a fist at the lens. The phone clattered to the marble and kept recording. His curse, the push, the creditors shouting. The clip hit data networks before lunch. The creditors filed civil suits by evening. Victor's bank froze his small account on suspicion of default. The landlord who once bragged of Victor's loyalty changed the locks on the storefront, citing unpaid rent. The local football betting kiosk pinned a photo of Victor under a sign that read, "No credit here. Pay first." Worst of all for Victor, the beer parlor crowd where he had been king now used his name as a punchline. When he swaggered up that night, still reeking of gin, the barman shrugged. Barman, court says you owe children's bread. My kegs aren't charity. Victor blustered, but laughter drove him out. Knife sharp, echoing against the zinc roof. He dragged himself to the brink of Mokola roundabout. Headlight, pockets lighter. A police van idled beside a suya stand. One officer scrolled through the day's viral clip, shook his head, and looked up just as Victor staggered past. Their eyes met. The officer whispered to his partner. They did not arrest him. It wasn't their warrant, but the message was clear. The uniform saw him now, and it was not smiling. Across town, winds blew in my favor. The Bodija shelter director handed me a sealed envelope containing a voucher from a partner NGO, 3 months rent subsidy, and a referral to a tailoring school scholarship. I thanked her through wet eyes, folding the paper like fragile glass. That afternoon, the children and I boarded a KK to Oluyole Estate, where a one-room flat waited. Cracked ceiling, yes, but window bars solid and locked in my own name. Landlady Mama Funke eyed us kindly. Landlady, advance rent covered. Pay utilities when you can. If the roof leaks, tell me. I'll send my nephew with zinc. The next morning, I led Ben and Zoe through the open gate of Unity Primary School. The head teacher, briefed by the shelter, waived late enrollment penalties. Ben's eyes widened at the chalkboard equations. Zoe hugged her new exercise book to her chest. Max clutched my wrapper all the way to Little Steps Daycare, a modest room inside the church compound. A volunteer gently pried him loose. Volunteer, we sing in color. He'll be fine. Me, whispering to Max, I'll sew just down the road. At lunch, I'll wave through the window. At noon, I stepped into Golden Needle Tailoring Co-op, a corrugated hall alive with treadle machines and fabric dust motes spinning in shafts of sun. Aderonki had phoned ahead. Sister, they need apprentices. 1 year, stipend after 3 months. The forewoman, stout and quick-eyed, inspected my palm calluses. Forewoman, you know straight stitches? I can learn faster than cloth tears. Forewoman, that's the spirit. Machine 7 is lonely. Feed it thread. I stitched confidently, sewing the first bold seam of my new, limitless life.